Hello everyone. Today we are starting our new segment which is known as newspaper and editorial analysis, and in this particular session we are going to cover the news which is related to the history section of UPSC preparation. And in this week, so there is three news particularly which is related to the history portion. So the first one is Gandhi Mandela Award, which was conferred to Dalai Lama. So while discussing this particular news, we are going to look at what this award is all about, why and to whom it is given, and why is it given to Dalai Lama. We'll be discussing it in the context of Chinese occupation of Tibet and the struggle that Dalai Lama is posing for 40 years in favor of Tibet. So that is something that we will be discussing. After that, the second news, which is about Tipu Sultan. So it arose as a controversy when his birthday was being celebrated. So the controversy is about whether it is India's first national hero, as has been proclaimed by some people, or was it a religious boycott. So that is something that we'll be looking at. The third news is about Lachit Borphukan, who is a symbol of Assamese identity, and we'll be looking at how he is very important symbol of Indian national identity too. So let's start with the first news. So it was there in 21st November 2022 in Indian Express. So Gandhi Mandela Award, which was conferred to Dalai Lama. Why was it in news? So the Tibetan spiritual leader Dalai Lama, the 14th Dalai Lama, he was recently conferred the Gandhi Mandela Award 2022. So first thing that we need to understand, why and to whom this award is given. So this award is is given to a person who is actually propagating the ideas of Gandhi as well as Mandela. So both these personalities, they are known for their anti-colonial and their anti-racism struggle in 19th and 20th centuries. So Dalai Lama is somebody who has also been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1989, and he has been fighting for Tibet and Tibet's cultural as well as political identities for the last 40 years. It is a non-violent struggle. He has developed the philosophy of peace, which is based upon the concept of universal responsibility. So this is something that he is known for. Now, let us talk about the Gandhi Mandela Award for a bit. So Gandhi Mandela Foundation, it is an NGO, and it started an international award, which is Gandhi Mandela Peace Prize, which was started on 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. So there is this jury which chooses one person among all the nominations that have come. This year Dalai Lama was chosen for the award. So who is Dalai Lama? What is the institution of Dalai Lama? That is something that we need to understand. So Dalai Lama is the spiritual as well as political leader of Tibetan Buddhism. So when we are talking about Tibet, so there is this tradition of Dalai Lama, and people of Tibet, they believe that Dalai Lama is the incarnation of Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. So Bodhisattva is the term which is used for a person who holds his own nirvana for helping other people to reach that particular nirvana stage. So Dalai Lama is a title that is given to the person who would be chosen as the political and spiritual leader of Tibet. So 14th Dalai Lama, he was given the title of head of state in 1950. So in 1950, when he is given the title, China which is actually proclaiming its dominance over Tibet, they are trying to make Dalai Lama sign an agreement, which is known as 17-point agreement, and it was signed in 1951. So this agreement actually says that China will respect Tibet's autonomy, its idea, its cultural identity, which is mostly of Buddhism, and on the other hand, it is also setting up its military and civil base in Lhasa. So this is something which was signed, but Dalai Lama as well as the people of Tibet, they do not actually believe in the sanctity of this document, and they keep asserting that it was signed under pressure. So there is this resentment which is building up, and in 1959 there was this unsuccessful rebellion against Chinese occupation. So in that rebellion, what happened was that the 14th Dalai Lama and around 80,000 people, they migrated to Indian subcontinent with their spiritual leader, and India offered them refuge, and Dalai Lama lives in Dharamshala, which is a place in Himachal Pradesh state of India. So there he has formed a government in exile. So what happened afterwards in China, there is this cultural imposition upon Tibet, and around 1.2 million people have been killed. Around over 600 monasteries, they have been destructed, and these are the people who are fighting for their homeland. But China continues to impose its cultural as well as political identity on Tibet. So what happened afterwards, after this bloodiest occupation in the history of world, what happened that Dalai Lama started arguing for peace in Tibet, and he started talks with Chinese government. So what is he saying? He is saying that we will accept the political suzerainty, but with the idea of self-government. So China can dictate the foreign policy of Tibet, but Tibet would be a self-ruled area, which the people of Tibet will decide how to rule and what would be their political idea. So this is something that Dalai Lama was talking about. Now, what has happened? He started the call for peace from 1987, and in 1989, of course, for his efforts, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. But afterwards, from 1993, what happened that China disrupted the talks, and in 1995 the Panchen Lama, who is responsible for choosing the next Dalai Lama, that Panchen Lama is kidnapped, and the boy who was 6 years old, he became the youngest political prisoner, as people of Tibet say. So after that, again, bloody war, you can say, a forceful occupation of Tibetan identity started, and a lot of people have been murdered. They have been kept as political prisoners. China is making infiltration of Chinese people in Tibetan area to actually destruct the Tibetan identity. And since then, in this particular situation, Dalai Lama has been actually following a non-violent struggle for the last 40 years for the case of Tibet. So this is something that he has done in a very non-violent manner, and for this he was awarded this Peace Prize. So this was our first news. Now, so these are some of the photographs. So these were the people who migrated to Indian subcontinent in 1959. This is the scene of protest where Chinese government, they are actually arresting these monks. So this is there. The second news was about Tipu Sultan. So why was he in news? So Tipu Sultan's birth anniversary was recently observed. See, now there are two political groups. One political group actually assumes and they argue that Tipu Sultan is a national hero of India because he fought against British troops. The second group keeps arguing that he is a person who was responsible for forceful conversions of Hindus as well as Christians to Islam, and they also argue that he is a person who was responsible for destruction of a lot of temples. So this is the political controversy around the figure of Tipu Sultan. So Tipu Sultan is a person who was born in 1750 to Hyder Ali. Hyder Ali was Sultan of Mysore, and he became the Sultan after the Wadiyar dynasty, which was previously ruling there. Okay, now Tipu Sultan, he succeeded his father in 1782 amidst the Second Anglo-Mysore War, in which Hyder Ali died. Not because of the war, but because of the natural causes. So what Tipu Sultan is doing, he is responsible for a lot of reforms in the state of Mysore. So he is a person, we are talking about a person in 18th, 19th century when British were a formidable force to reckon with. And what is happening here, that this person thought that to fight the British army, we need an army which is based on modern European idea of military. So that is why he is making a lot of investment in modernizing his army. He is responsible for the introduction of iron-cased rockets in India in warfare. He is also organizing his army completely on European basis with the help of French governors and French military leaders. He is also making administrative as well as economic reforms, which was in the case of coinage. Also, he is making agricultural reforms, so he is supporting and facilitating irrigation in the state of Mysore. He is constructing and repairing the old dams. He is actually measuring and classifying the land on the basis of fertility, and he removed the middlemen. He made peasants directly responsible for paying revenue to the state in cash, so that he could again modernize his army, because treasury was important for that particular region. He was also a great lover of democracy. So he is supporting French when they are fighting for the idea of liberty. He also planted a tree of liberty in his capital. He also helped these French people set up a Jacobean club. He became a member of that club. Now, he died in fighting in the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War against British, where Mysore finally lost to the British army and was made to sign the subsidiary alliance, and finally Wadiyars were assigned the throne of Mysore. So what is the controversy here? He is a person who is actually coming up with all these reforms. Amidst these reforms, what is important to understand, that this person was a great expansionist. He also fought wars with Marathas as well as British army, that is known here. So in the bid for expansion, in his political expansion, what he is doing, he is also committing atrocities. He is killing a lot of people. He is brutally killing them. He is attacking their places of worship, and he is destructing those places. And this is a historical record. This is something which is being cited by a few people, a group of people who are saying that he was a religious boycott. On the other hand, there is this other group of people who are citing that he also gave a lot of patronage to hundreds of temples. He repaired those temples. So you shouldn't compare the political campaigns with the personal identity of a person. And this this is why this historical figure has always been in the center of political controversies. So this was the news which was about Tipu Sultan. Now the third news, which was about Lachit Borphukan. So why was he in news? A 3-day celebration of the 400th birth anniversary of the legendary Assami general and folk hero Lachit Borphukan began in New Delhi on November 23rd. So it was a 3-day celebration in which Prime Minister Narendra Modi, our Home Minister Amit Shah, Finance Minister, as well as the Law Minister Kiran Rijiju, they all participated. And there was this book also which was launched, Lachit Borphukan, Assam's hero who halted the Mughals. So this was the book which was launched there. Now he is a person who is often very underrated and he hasn't been talked about when we are talking about the history of Mughal India. So that is why this person becomes very important when we are talking about Assamese identity now. So what happened? That why is he very important? As the book itself suggests that he was the hero who halted the Mughals in Assam. So Lachit Borphukan is known for his leadership in the Battle of Sarai Ghat, which was fought in 1671. So from the time of Jahangir to the time of Aurangzeb, Ahom kingdom was in battle and warfare with the Mughal Empire. So initially these people, Mughals, they won a few battles when they were fighting with Ahom kingdom, and they occupied certain areas. Now when we are talking about this, we are citing the book The Comprehensive History of Assam, which is penned by H.K. Borpujari. So he has written The Comprehensive History of Assam, and in which he is talking about the king Chardhwaj Singha, who appointed Lachit Borphukan as the military general of his army, and he entrusted him with fighting the Mughals. So what is happening when Mughal army in the time of Aurangzeb is attacking Ahom kingdom? It was a naval battle which was fought in and around Brahmaputra river in Guwahati. So the battle of Sarai Ghat happened, and in this battle they are actually using guerrilla warfare technique, which was their favorite, of course. So most of the hilly region, in the hilly region, or if you talk about Marathas from the same time, they were experts in guerrilla warfare, and this is something that this person is also employing as a technique. So what happened, that they attacked Mughals both from front and the rear. So, and finally Mughals had to retreat back, and there also they were attacked by Ahom army, and finally they were defeated in the battle. So that is why this person becomes very important when it comes to the history of Assam and the overall history of medieval India, because he was responsible largely for the victory of Ahoms. Now, if you look at briefly the history of Ahom kingdom, it was actually established by Chaolung Sukfa in 13th century, and it lasted till 1826 when they finally signed a treaty with British. So British finally captured the kingdom, and then Ahom dynasty's rule ended. So what is important for us to remember, that they came to power by replacing the older landlords, and their system was actually based upon forced labors. These people who were doing labor for them in military or in agricultural arena, they were known as Payaks. And these people, if you talk about their military, they consisted of infantry, navy, which is very important because in the Battle of Sarai Ghat also the naval base was very important, which actually contributed to the victory of Ahoms. Then artillery, elephantry, cavalry as well as the spies. So their spy system was very important. Why? Because these people used to send their spies in their enemies' camps to actually know their military strategies so that they can form their own military strategy accordingly. Now, their main war weapons consisted of bows and arrows, swords, javelins, discus, guns, matchlocks, and cannons. And as we have already discussed that they were experts in guerrilla warfare, what they used to do, sometimes they used to let the enemy army come in their area, and then they used to cut off their communication, and after that they used to attack them from front and rear. So this is something that is important to understand about Ahom dynasty. And this person, Lachit Borphukan, because of his contribution in the history of Ahom kingdom, by actually defeating Mughals, he has become a symbol of cultural identity for them. He has become a hero in the folk tales, and he remains important when it comes to the history of Assam as well as the history of medieval India. Thank you.